What's going on, guys? Welcome to another video. Today is a Q&A. So I do questions on my Instagram. If you're not following me at the Keto Road on Instagram, please go and do that if you find these videos informational or valuable. But I had a question come up and wanted to answer it. So this question comes from Keto Mary. You can see my Instagram's right here. Okay. She asks, fasting and perimenopause. So we're going to talk about fasting and perimenopause. What are the pros and cons? Should you do it? Should you not? We're going to dive in. This is going to be a long video. If you haven't already liked and subscribed to the channel and this video, please feel free to do that now. If you have any comments about what I'm about to talk about, please put those in the comment section. I will respond as quickly as I can. So first we have to say, what is perimenopause? Let's just get that out of the way. So perimenopause is right before menopause, when you start to transition into menopause. You start having, most women into their later 40s, sometimes earlier, depending on hereditary and genetical environment situations, things like that. When you start having irregular cycles, prolonged cycles, 60-day cycles, 90-day cycles. And then eventually you'll go a whole year. Once you officially hit a whole year without a cycle, you're technically in menopause. You can get your FSH and your LH checked to verify that, but that's a good, roll the dice indicator, okay? So the question is fasting good for perimenopause? So the answer is both yes and no. I want to get into like when it can be good and when it can be bad. So first we have to understand is what's causing the perimenopause. Now there is early onset perimenopause that is environmental in nature. What that means is there are women that due to toxins in their environment, mold toxicity, lack of exercise, very stressful life, lack of work-life balance, bad food habits. These things can create a very stressful, inflammatory environment, and it can start what seems like perimenopause early, and you just kind of go with it, and then you actually enter into perimenopause and then go into menopause. And the only reason I say that is because anecdotally speaking, I've worked with clients that looked like they were going through perimenopause. We regulated their stress system, we balanced their hormones, got them eating a well formulated diet, got them into exercise, and we were actually able to re-regulate their cycle. And then about a couple years later, they actually just started to do their perimenopause transition naturally, okay? So understand that people can have early onset perimenopause just due to environmental factors, and that can be dealt with. So let's say you have a lot of inflammation. Let's say you're eating a very standard American diet, lots of hyper-processed foods, you're overeating calories, you're insulin resistant, all that stuff. If that's happening, fasting can be great. Like if you've never fasted, you're not fasting. Fasting can be great. It's going to help create insulin sensitivity. It's going to help create a better caloric restriction. It's going to help you lose some excess body fat. And it should even give you some energy that should motivate you to be more active. All in all, it can create a great environment. And maybe if you have some early onset perimenopause due to environmental issues, those symptoms will start to subside and you'll re-regulate your cycle and you'll feel good. That being said, there's a lot of nuance there. And as a doctor, let me say that too. As a doctor, I am not a licensed medical professional. I am a certified nutritional therapist. And so I can't diagnose you. Don't take this as a diagnosis. But if you know where you're at, you know where you're at, right? And so realizing that, if you look at your environment, your daily habits, your stress management, you're not fasting, you're not doing anything for your health, and you're seeing these symptoms, then adding in fasting can be a great way to do that, okay? Now, on the flip side though, I tend to work in a space where fasting is very popular. There are women that start fasting in their 30s and they get into their 40s and they start to see early onset perimenopause symptoms, or they start going through perimenopause itself. This is where fasting can not necessarily be good. It can still be good, right? Caloric restriction, it can be good for producing ketones. It can be very anti-inflammatory. Fasting is not the enemy, but just like any tool, you can abuse it. You don't want to bring a hammer to a screw, right? You want to drill bit, or you want to Phillips screw, or whatever the kind of screw is. You get the point. You get the analogy. Fasting is a stressor on the body, okay? And so understanding that fasting too much can do two things. One, it can overly under-restrict your calories. When that happens, you're not getting all the vital micronutrients and phytonutrients and things that you need in your body on a daily basis. This can, in turn, make your body respond negatively, hormonally speaking. And too much fasting and too much caloric restriction can actually make you start to have irregular cycles and make you what you perceive to be early onset perimenopause. What really what's happening is your body's too stressed. You're over spinning the wheel. And so in that scenario, fasting, you need to pull back on the fasting. The fasting is not helping you right now. You need to go to 3 square meals a day at the minimum. You need to make sure you're getting in enough protein and enough nutrients into your diet, focusing on animal meats and proteins. And then if you want some veggies in there, you can definitely go for that, some berries if you want, etc. This video, we could get into carb cycling. We're not going to get into that in this video. I just want to talk about fasting in this situation. If you have been fasting for a while, you've been keto carnivore for a while, or any of those kinds of diets, and you're starting to notice a lot earlier than your family that you're showing signs of perimenopause, you need to go get your labs checked, get with your healthcare provider, your OBG or your primary, and you need to get those numbers, right? Or if you want to work with me or some other nutritional therapist that specializes in women's hormones, you can definitely get with us and we can help you walk through that and what to look for and how we can help mitigate some of those situations. But if you are been fasting for a while and you start to notice that, first thing I would do is tell you to stop fasting. I've told more women to stop fasting than I've told women to start fasting, okay? So realize that while it can be a healthy tool to get out of the gunk and reset your hormones and allow for a more balanced transition later when it's supposed to happen, if you overdo it, you can also swing to the other side of the pendulum, and then that can create an unhealthy environment in you as well. So that's just early onset perimenopausal symptoms. Now, you're actually going through perimenopause. Your body's getting ready, your ovaries are getting ready to retire essentially, and you're going into the menopause transition. Fasting is a double-edged sword there in the same sense. It can be really good because we know that adopting a fasting diet tends to lead to better food choices when you do eat. This can help with gut microbiome. This can help with inflammation. This can help with serotonin production. Fasting can encourage a better whole food diet, which can overall make you feel much better during this transition. Fasting can also be great for regulating blood sugar so you don't get those hunger pangs, which can make you less irritable, make you more focused, give you more mental clarity, all that great stuff. So fasting can be good for perimenopause. Fasting can also be very negative if you overdo it. A lot of women going through perimenopause aren't thinking, generally, they're not thinking about the hormone transition. They're worried about the weight gain that comes with those kinds of things. You do not have to gain 20 pounds going through menopause. That's not a thing that a lot of doctors, it is normal. Just because it's common doesn't mean it needs to be normal, and it's not normal, okay? So I understand you thinking about the weight loss and not wanting to gain weight and not wanting to feel bad and not feel icky. But people can overdo the fasting because they're scared of that and they're not thinking about their body holistically. So realizing that fasting can also be bad. You can overdo it, which can overstress your system, which can exacerbate perimenopausal symptoms, okay? So just from like a hormonal inflammatory perspective, fasting, if you do it too much, can overdo and exacerbate symptoms as well. On top of that, if you do need food, your body does want food, you can find yourself in a big binge and purge cycle, which is super dangerous, okay? And what I mean by that is you fast a lot, you don't see anything getting better because you don't realize that what you're doing is actually exacerbating negative symptoms. You throw up your hands on the weekends, you say F this, and you go eat a bunch of crap, you gain weight, and then you start the cycle over. Next thing you know, 6 months from now, you're yo-yo dieting, you're binging on the weekends, you're gaining weight, you're eating way more calories than you should because you're not even tracking on the weekends because you feel like you ate so little during the week. It just creates this really nasty cycle. And so realizing that fasting can be a double-edged sword, both for early perimenopausal symptoms and actual perimenopause itself. So what do you do? Here's what I would recommend. I would recommend if you've been fasting and you notice that this fasting is exacerbating your symptoms, I would pull back. I would try to go to a 16-8 or even a 14-10 fasting window. Make sure you're getting in your protein, fats, and carbs. If you're not fasting at all and you want to introduce it, my advice would be don't go over a 16-8. You, as a perimenopausal woman, have no reason to OMAD. You have no reason to OMAD. None at all. If you're OMADing, you're simply doing it for diet. It's not helping you hormonally. Now, you can, and this is going to sound contradictory, but hear me out. If you want to, once or twice a month, you can do a 24-hour fast if you enjoy the way it makes you feel. I'm totally cool with cellular regeneration. I'm cool with you taking a break from food, giving your gut a break. I don't think those things are bad, but I would limit that 24-hour fast to once or twice a month. And every other day, I would keep it around a 16-8 if you haven't fasted prior to this point. So that's how I would handle it. Very brief overview of fasting. I didn't want to get the nuances of nutrition. If you want to talk about that, put it in the comment section below. I'll definitely make another video. I hope this helps. I hope this gives you some information and some some direction forward. And if you have any other questions, please let me know. I'll see you in the next one.